Guys, gals, thank you for making the time to participate in our Women in Business Global event. For those of you that maybe are newer to this environment or this specific initiative that we've done with Women in Business this year, let me set the stage just a little bit. I'm Shay Hill. I'm our co-chair of our Women in Business Committee with Nick Eddy. I have been over the organization for 2 years, coming on the end of 2022. It's been a fantastic 2 years. And earlier in 2022, we sat down as a committee, really tail end of last year, but said, for this year, what do we want to accomplish? And it was a couple of priorities. One was connections, right? Another was opportunity and growth for individuals. And then there was a third arm of partnerships in our community, which I can proudly say we have accomplished all three, which is fantastic. We have set up a couple of specific events that many of you have participated in. If you're external to MarketStar, they may be new to you. They are called coffee chats. It's a monthly event that we do where we bring folks in. We have a great presenter on specific topics that you have asked for, which has been fun to see come to life. And then we do connection moments for 30 to 40 minutes of that event every month. We've seen individuals join at a higher rate and the participation continue to climb. So we know the impact is there. And then we have this second awesome event that you're here for today. We did a global event earlier this year, and this is our second one that we've committed to. So grateful to you, Ian White and Jody Young. So everyone knows they have quarterbacked this from start to finish in both rounds. The lift is heavy, but the results are paramount. So thank you both for all of your time and effort into this. But really, the purpose of what Women in Business is here to do is create, again, opportunities and connection. I couldn't be more excited. I won't steal the thunder on the speakers who are coming in today. But I've seen what they've done. I've watched what they've accomplished. We've partnered with one of them in some powerful ways and created literally career opportunities and emotion on levels I can't begin to explain. I'll let Trina talk a little bit about that. But again, thank you everyone for being here. I won't talk too long. I promise to keep it just a couple minutes as we kick off the event. Thankful to some individuals in particular who are here, everyone of course, but there are some of our senior executive leaders and appreciate the big picture support of what Women in Business is doing. So with that, Jody Young, why don't I turn it over to you to take us through our speaker and presentation lineup, and we'll go from there.
That sounds great. Thanks, Shay. And I think that's just the best segue to welcome you to our second Global Women in Business event this year. So I could not be more excited and grateful that you joined us this morning. We're really looking forward to a great event here. We're already seeing the love for Trina in the chat, which is awesome. So definitely some familiar faces there, which is so great. I hope that you really do take the time to listen and enjoy really just hearing from our industry experts, because really we handpick these people for a reason. And I'm really glad that you chose us this morning and afternoon for those of you that are elsewhere. So as we kick this off, we really want this to be an organic conversation. We want it to be really interactive. And so we would love for you to drop your questions in the chat. After each keynote, we're going to do just a quick live Q&A so that you can ask those questions to Trina and our other keynote speakers. So please make sure that you're popping those questions in the chat, and we'll give some time for Trina to answer those, because we really want you to take everything out of this that you can. So with that being said, I would love to kick it off with our first keynote speaker, and I would love to give her a proper intro. So this is Trina Celeste Limpert. She is the CEO of RizeNext Corp, a leadership and culture consulting firm. Sorry, tongue twister. Told you it's organic. She is the co-founder of techmoms.org, a nonprofit assisting in transitioning careers into the technology industry. She is a longtime advocate for women in leadership and has had a 30-year career in the technology industry, including companies like Novell, eBay, and Oracle. She has been recognized as Utah Business 30 Women to Watch, and she has been recognized for her innovation throughout many other awards. Trina continues to share her deep knowledge of women in leadership and technology and enables diverse workforces through her writing, speaking, and training engagements nationally. It's my pleasure to welcome you, Trina.
Thank you. And I know we've had a few challenges. Did my share actually show up? You can see my screen.
Yep, looks great.
Oh
Yep.
my gosh, I am like so excited today. Multiple reasons, right? You know, I am a technologist, but sometimes I struggle with technology. So glad things are working today. Really excited to be here with MarketStar's Women in Business, and have really appreciated the partnership that we've had with Tech Moms and MarketStar. It's been an incredible journey these last few years. I would have to say this last week has been amazing, just as we see the momentum. And I just feel like we're just getting started and there's so much more to do. But I wanted to share today, knowing we have limited time, but so much to talk about. Like there is so much here that I wanted to share today. And really, RizeNext Women in Leadership is a program I had put together a few years ago that is still so needed throughout so many organizations. And how do we really create women in leadership? So I wanted to share just a brief history. Thank you for the bio. I just want to give kind of my take on how I got here, because I think it's always good to share our stories. And then part of what I want to do next is just an overview of women in leadership, how to create promotional opportunities. And I'm going to hit it really high and fast. There's so much behind. I sent over a deck that has a lot more detail, but there's like a whole training series behind this. We're just going to hit the highlights and hopefully get you motivated to kind of get some direction on where we want to go today. So to get started, as I kind of do my bio, if I can get this working here, just it's a little slow on my side too, I think. There we go. Okay, you're seeing the QR code there. Okay, so click that QR code. It's going to take you to an app. The hashtag is MarketStar to join. We're going to do a little quiz, make it a little fun today as we go through and talk about some of these subjects. So while I give my bio, go ahead and join in there on Slido. So my background has been in technology for 30 years. So I get asked a lot, like, how did I get into tech as a woman? And I have to say, it's when I wrecked my 1976 Chevy Malibu into a parked car. I realized after losing my driver's license, because I had a few other infractions, I won't go into details, but ended up losing my driver's license at the age of 18. I was riding my little brother's bike to a fast food restaurant called Vittles, in which I was sliding around on greasy floors and just going, I can't live this life. Like, this is not where we're going. But I'd grown up in, our family had financial challenges. We'd been on welfare at points in time. There just wasn't financial means to get into school, but I knew education was my path. I knew I had to get an education. So I saved up my Vittles dollars and I made my way into my first courses at UVU. Back then, 25 years ago, it was the technical college. I actually started out in architectural engineering, but one of the classes they offered was a Pascal programming class. I don't know if anybody knows Pascal, but not valid anymore. But that's what was my start. And I had this aha moment where it was like, there's this thing called computer science, and felt like that was my path and where I needed to go. So that was where it all started. And I actually wrote my thesis paper when doing my computer science degree back in '96 on why women should go into computer science. And it's been a lifelong journey of mine. This wasn't something we came up with 2 years ago. I have lived throughout my whole career working with community change, working in ERGs. My career ended up taking me through companies like Novell and Oracle and eBay. And I was the global president of Women in IT at eBay, and started to do programs like I'm going to show you. This is the leadership training we're going to talk about today. Really came from an initiative I launched at eBay in helping get women understanding things they can do to be promoted in the workforce. And there was a moment when we started rolling these out to the female employees, and they would start to make some of these changes. And they're like, I'm doing these things, but my leader doesn't understand. They don't understand how to engage with me or what I'm doing or why I'm doing some of the things I'm doing. And it was getting halted. And what I recognized is that you cannot approach leadership and promotion one-sided. You can't just try and fix the women. And I'm going to pause there because I think that there is a feeling sometimes like, well, just give women more training and skills and it's going to change. No, it's a two-pronged approach to be able to really create great workforces that enable everyone equally. And the leadership teams have just as much responsibility in understanding the shifts that need to happen in order to enable promotion cycles and some of these things. So I'm going to hit on some of the high-level skills, and I'm going to layer them out, both what women can do, female employees, as well as leaders. And I want to be clear on what is a leader, because a leader can be anyone, right? Not just management teams. So I've been working with a company and they're very clear on leader is everyone. Leader means everybody can take action. Leaders can initiate change wherever they're at, right? For behaviors and shifts and changes that can happen. And so when I say leader, I'm talking to everyone. Managers might have teams that they're responsible for, and there's certain things as a manager you have control of that you can help influence and create change. So I just want to make sure we're talking through that a little bit. All right, so everybody should be in Slido. It's a little bit slow on my side too, Ian. So I'm going to there we go. Okay. So in Slido, we're going to run a little test here. I want you to put an emoji of how you're feeling today about talking about women in leadership. Looks like I've got some people typing, so that's good. It should start popping up here. How are we feeling? Oh, this is fun. Okay. So lots of excitement. Yay. This is kind of going to set the tone today. Like, yay, we've got good things happening. We're glad we're talking about this. We're ready to learn. We're ready to jump in. Super fun. Lots of hearts and stars and celebration. That's a good way to start today. Good way. Give it a little bit more here, see what we get. We've got some rockets. We're going to be taking off. Women on the rise, right? That's what we're going to be talking about. Rising up. Super fun. Okay. Next one. We're going to join in a quiz. Okay. This is just kind of like, we want to always start with why. Why are we talking about this? What does it matter? And I do this little quiz. Looks like people are joining in. I'm going to move quick because we don't have a lot of time and I want to dig in. So we've got about 40 seconds. I don't know. What are the 3 organizational benefits of women in leadership roles? Is it to provide a more balanced view of female gender, become more in tune to our feelings, facilitate better problem solving, have people do all the busy work, or increase performance? What are the 3 reasons why we're talking about women in tech or women in leadership? And time. Okay. Does everybody feel rushed there? Let's see what we get. Okay. The majority got it right. And I threw a couple gotchas in there. Okay. So providing a more balanced view of female gender and technology sector issues. That is true. Like markets we can access. How do we work across? There is a more balanced view when you have multiple perspectives, right? Diverse life experiences is very important in running a business. So there's some growth and profitability benefits. We become more in tune with our feelings. This is a very common response. Some of you responded to this, but I think there is some stereotypes and biases that women are more emotional or have more feelings. It is more the case where I have seen in my corporate experience of 30 years that we all have feelings. We all have an ability to bring those forward. We're seeing it in the mental wellness and some of these things, and being able to have more empathy in the workplace. But I would say this isn't just a female trait, right? We all have the opportunity here. But facilitate better problem solving abilities, absolutely. They have seen, and there's research done from McKinsey that having more diverse teams and diverse women leads to 35% higher growth and profitability. A lot of the reason is because within diverse teams, you have better problem solving abilities. You have higher creativity, you have higher innovation. So we're not just doing this because it's the nice thing to do. It's because it makes business sense and it's a good thing to do, right? It's both sides. I'm glad this one, I do get answers that this is why. Sometimes this is a bias, and one of the things we're going to talk about, having somebody to do the busy work, the office housework, some of these things, like sometimes I get that response, and we didn't have anybody say that this time, but increased performance. So I do like to start off with the why. I'm glad we've got the quizzes going. It kind of helps give some perspective. So we've got about 20 minutes to go through. Looks like everybody won. Yay. Congratulations, by the way. Good job. Everybody's a winner. All right. So what I want to set is that if there's even more recent data, that it's going to take 135 years to reach pay equity at the current rate. That's not my lifetime. That's not your lifetime. It's maybe not even your kid's lifetime. And for me, it's why I'm probably passionate about what I do, is like, we got to get more people on board. We have to create more visibility. Trainings like this helps create that change and helps bring in that momentum and being able to really create visibility to the benefits overall. And we won't have time to go into all of that, but really understanding that now is the time to change. And by coming and attending to these types of calls at your organization, you're becoming more aware. And once you're aware, you can't go back unless you're just like, I just don't want to deal with this, right? Once you're aware, it's like now you can create real change. You can be intentional in moving forward. So kudos to all of you for being here today, because we're gonna dig in and see what skills or what things we can do to really create change, and that's the goal for today. I'll just see if my slide will advance. Yes. So I'm not going to go through this too much. Just a little bit of background. Tech Moms is probably what most everybody knows me about. I do trainings. So what I'm presenting today, I do corporate training, executive coaching, just talk about a lot of these women in leadership creating great cultures. We have a lot of different in-person, online, micro-learning approaches, and that's the work that I do at RizeNext. So I'm going to move forward. Okay, so a little bit of where this came from. Like I said, I ran this program at eBay and then launched it as part of my core coursework for women in leadership. It actually was recognized by Women in IT of New York, as shortlisted as Educational and Diversity Program of the Year. So we've had a lot of great recognition with this program. But where it came from, like I said, is we really focused on creating, how do I create promotional opportunities for myself? How do I do that? And a few years ago, or many years ago, this is like 15 years ago, I remember there was a leadership program run called, based on the book by Marshall Goldsmith. I don't know if anybody's heard of him. You can do like a raise your hand or something if you have. But he wrote a book called What Will Get You Here Won't Get You There. And my leadership team was super excited about this, right? And they're like, oh my gosh, this book, we've got to do a book club. We've got to do like all the stuff around it. It was so amazing. And I read it. I'm like, like, and I didn't realize it then, but many years later, Marshall came out and said, you know what? I wrote that book with bias. I only interviewed men. And my whole leadership, except for me, was male. And so he partnered with Sally Helgeson. Some of you may be familiar with this book. And it's called How Women Rise. And this book, I was like, oh, heck yeah, that makes sense to me now. And so there's 12 skills that I'm going to go through that are based on this book. But like I said before, when I launched this training and started going through it, what I recognized is we didn't talk to any of the leaders. the leadership team didn't know that this transformation was happening, and they didn't know how to support it. And it just kind of hit a wall. It just like, bam, okay, we're trying to create all this change with women. They're all super excited. They're all doing these things. And, but then they just feel frustrated because their leadership teams don't know how to enable it. They don't know how to work with diverse teams. They don't know how to enable some of these things, because like I said, with my leadership team, some of the things that Marshall talked about originally were my strengths. I was actually really good at some of those things where my male counterparts had struggled. And it's the same thing. And there's no right or wrong. We all have individual strengths, and that's what you want, is those balances between, I have certain strengths, others have a, like, we're going to come together and we're going to work on the things we need to work on together. Okay, so that's the whole purpose behind this. Okay, everybody following here? We're gonna just kind of see if my screen will fast forward here. It's thinking about it. Okay. So like we talked about the why, where are we at today? Kind of like, let's just kind of level set a little bit. So there's about 24% of women in executive positions today. The US lags behind the global average to 21%. And this was taken before a lot of the recent, I don't know if you've been watching some of the news and articles and recent data, but there's like this exodus of women in leadership. Not okay. We're going to be stepping back, and we got to halt this. And so some of the things we're going to be talking today is like, let's halt what's happening and really see, how do we create these promotion cycles? How do we enable across the board? Okay. So next thing up, and I'm glad I'm seeing that people are going to go get that book. Yes. And some of the things we're going to be talking about are in there. The other side of it is the work that I'm doing, and hopefully be coming out with a book on this leadership side of it, because that's the part that's missing. So just getting started on, let's just talk about considerations when building a career. So with Tech Moms, this is something that we work on a lot. Like, what is the vision? Why are you here? What is it you want to go to? Get that vision very clear of why you want this career, what that career is, not 5 different careers. What is the one path? And then you can shift later, right? We know about the jungle gym approach, not the career ladder. So by sitting down and saying, what are my abilities? What's the vision for me going forward? And what's the purpose? What is your individual purpose? And there's a whole workshop that I do on finding purpose and vision and lining this up. This is for everyone, right? You should be really clear on what, not just the career skills, but how does it align to me and my vision and purpose in life? And that's going to give you a lot more fulfillment as you go through your career, and give you kind of that resiliency and stamina to move forward and go, I know this is going to pay off in the future. But tie those things together as you move forward, and having those conversations with your manager on, here's where I want to go, here's why, here's what really resonates for me. And great managers know how to then enable that. And so those conversations get a lot more enriched when you've sat down and kind of had this. And we're not gonna be able to go into detail, but just, there's a lot out there, like, how do I create my purpose, my vision, my career? How does it align, and step through as we build out skills? Okay. So this is how I've laid it out. There's a women rising side. How do we really manage our careers? How do we get wise on our careers, and investing time and effort in ourselves and our careers? But on the other side of it, we need to be able to have managers that also lead with intention. They are understanding of some of the challenges that are there for women. They're open to understanding that. They're not just avoiding this. It's got to come from both sides to really create change. So I'm on the left is what's going to be in the How Women Rise book. On the right, the engaged leader is going to, these are the things that the leader can do to then enable that side of it. Okay. So the very top, let's start at the top, claiming our achievements. How, you know, and you can put this in the chat if you like, how many of us hesitate in like speaking up, like how awesome I am? So I start reading this book by Sally. Like I said, I was like, oh yeah, this starts to resonate with me. What I realized, and I was laughing, I even shared this when I actually had, I hired Marshall Goldsmith and Sally Helgeson to come speak for International Women's Day back in 2019. So it was fun because I actually got to have them. And I'm like, this was the one that changed the most for me. What I realized is it talks about, do we do status updates? Do we convey all the work we're doing, the achievements we've done? Do we communicate those well? Well, I was like, oh my gosh, my leader has no idea how freaking awesome I am. Do they know? Do I speak up? Do I talk about myself? Do I share? Do I do weekly status reports? So I started doing that. I started sending my senior VP, like, here's all the things I'm doing. Here's what I'm doing every week. Guess what? I never got one response back. Didn't acknowledge any of it. Didn't say, this is great. Can we get a different, like, zero. It was like dead silence. So this is what I'm talking about. When you start to create change and you start enabling some of this visibility, you've got to have management teams that know how to react to that, how to engage it, how to leverage it, how to create higher performing teams based on it. So recognizing women's achievements, looking at those status reports. If you're not getting them as a manager, am I asking for them? Helping get that visibility, because more, it's not a trait that we would say, yeah, I'm going to promote myself or I'm going to talk about the things I do. We need to get better at this. Okay. It ties into marketing yourself. And this is not just your daily, here's what I'm doing on a weekly or monthly or quarterly basis. It should be tied to goals. We're going to talk about some of that, but just marketing ourselves and our careers. One of the challenges I always had as I managed our global team for women in IT was getting them to market the work we were doing. We were doing incredible things. I mean, we were doing these types of sessions like we're doing right now. We were doing it, but nobody knew about it. Nobody talked about it. And I'm like, you have to market. You have to tell people what we're doing. You have to say, look at all these great things that we've been able to do, the impact we've made, put some data around it, tell the story. And then also getting sponsorship. There's a difference between mentorship and sponsorship. Leaders will sponsor actively, vocally speaking up on somebody else's behalf and amplify and market female employees. So sponsorships are part of that, not just me talking about myself or the organization or we need sponsors to help support that. So sponsorships are really critical. Also recognizing your personal power. It ties into that purpose, identifying your strengths. I have like a session I do called Unleashing Your Superpowers, right? How do we find our superpowers? How do we then leverage them in the workforce? Doing some work on that. It's out on my academy for free. I don't think I have just a recording of that if you want to go watch it. But when we do that, there is a whole other training on the other side, unconscious bias, stereotypes, things that are going to, even though I am unleashing my superpowers, it might be met with aggression. It might be, you're too bossy, you're too aggressive, you're too crisp. You should be doing something different. You should, right? These are unconscious biases. And I would just say the one red flag, anytime you hear to or should, it's based typically in unconscious bias. So just be aware that it does exist. We all have them. It's okay. Like, I know there's sometimes some like pushback. It's like, well, I don't want to address the fact that we have it, but we all have it, every single one of us. And knowing and being able to identify in the workplace is the key. Being able to spend time understanding it better. The Utah Women in Leadership Project has a ton of documentation, very well researched, very well organized on how to identify and respond to unconscious bias. So enabling, if allowing for those superpowers to come out and then not hitting a wall with unconscious bias. Leveraging relationships, building relationships. Sometimes what we found is we do the trainings is that a lot of women have hesitancy and they feel like you have to have very deep relationships in order to ask for something. But instead you can have quick touch points on quick high level relationships and networks, right? The value of networking and having a large broad network is very, very important. We preach this to our tech moms all the time. We do meetups, we do networking, get comfortable saying, hey, here's what I'm doing, this is where I need help. Get comfortable with that part of it. And if that's a hurdle for you, get through that. And then on the other side, build relationships. We've seen, like, even as we went through like the Me Too movement and some of those things, it created a hesitancy to be alone with a woman, do one-on-ones alone, excluding, like we talk about inclusive leadership. This is where you really need to build relationships with your female employees as well, and broaden your networks there, because then that's how people get hired. That's how you create promotion cycles. It's so tied to relationships. And then enlisting allies. If you're struggling in your role or some of these, this is kind of, it's similar, not mentorship, but if you're seeing some of these unconscious biases, interrupting, let me just use that as an example. Interrupting in a meeting. I've had that throughout my career. It's very frustrating to always be having to speak up on your own and say, can you please stop interrupting me? Or, hey, I'm saying something, right? Like, it's, like, you just get tired as a female employee of dealing with that all the time. And I can't tell you how much it meant to me to have an ally speak up and say, hey, Trina was talking, or, you know what, she just said that. Did we not hear her? Right? What happened? Like, just being aware that that's happening and watching for it in your meetings and being an ally is just one way of really getting that allyship in place. Just something simple, right? And we talked about just being loyal to your career. It's life work harmony. Another area I do training on is we've got a lot going on, in our lives. And sometimes it's easy to not prioritize ourselves, our skills, or our careers. And so really focusing on that side of it. And on the other side, from a leadership or a management perspective, being clear on career paths. I don't know if this is something you do in your organization, but I would say career path discussions at least once a quarter. That's something that was very important for me and my team to be saying, okay, and I didn't own it, the employee owned it. They would come to me, here's what my career is, here's what I think, what are your thoughts, how can you enable it? Those career pathing discussions not only help build the relationships, but it also helps provide stretch assignments, opportunities. It helps in numerous ways to be able to resolve attrition potential issues, because they can see, I have a future at this company and my manager cares. So, okay, I'm moving really fast. And so I know we've got about 5 minutes left and 6 more. Okay, we're blowing through these. Okay. So embracing imperfection, like, do we feel like we have to have everything perfect? This is one thing I see a lot in tech moms. I want to move into this role. I know these are the skills. Okay, I'm going to do 6 years of education before I actually step forward into it. I'm exaggerating, but it's this idea that we have to be overly educated before we start doing. And so embrace imperfection. I might not have it all figured out, but if I go for it, most of the roles I took in my career, I didn't know. I didn't know what I was going to do. Like, I had enough background and experience to say, I'm going to be able to learn, and I have enough to prove that I can do the fundamentals, but I'm going to grow in that position. So embrace the imperfection that we have. And as a leadership team, provide stretch assignments. Provide those opportunities to say, okay, they don't have to prove themselves first. It ties to number 11 here. One of the things I saw in my career was like, okay, Trina, you move into this management position, but then we'll pay you in 6 months once you've proven yourself. I don't know why I said yes to that, but that is so wrong. So wrong. But it's something that happens when it's like, prove yourself. And then, right, where often we'll treat men with, you have potential. We're going to put you in the role. We're going to pay you for it. And then we know you'll figure it out. You got to be careful of that one. Purpose. We've talked a lot about setting time boundaries, having talents. And then as a leader, focus on results, not tasks. What are the goals? What are we working towards? How are we going to get there? How are we going to do this as a team? What do I need to do to enable you? Right. So really tying some of those things together and being careful on that we have boundaries, that the office housework is not consuming our time, but we're really focused on those most important priorities for the individual and the organization. Okay. Okay, we got 4. Look, we can do this. Okay. All right. Actively demonstrating confidence. And there was an article that came out lately, and I just loved it because I've seen this. Imposter syndrome, right? We talk about imposter syndrome and confidence, and we've somehow, as a society, tied lack of confidence to being a female trait. Oh, that is so wrong. Like, I can send out to this the link to the article, but it was that we've created this environment where it's like, well, women just don't go for it, so that's on them. Women just aren't confident. Like, we've come up with this story. It's like everybody deals with confidence and needs to become more confident and work through. It's not a female trait. Imposter syndrome is not a female trait. We all are working on our careers, our next step. Sometimes it's uncomfortable. We've got to get comfortable being uncomfortable, stepping into some of these spaces that are really confusing and move through them. So yes, we need to move through with confidence in ourselves and where we're going, but don't, as a leadership, tie it as that's a lacking skill for women. Like, let's not do that. Okay. All right. Next few. This was like kind of in my quiz, the root in emotion. Sometimes it can feel emotion, but when we talk through things, talk through in a logic perspective. If you need to step back from something, we've all said it, like when you write an email, if you're writing with emotion, don't ever send it. Don't even put it in email, like write it offline, let it kind of simmer for a minute, then logically approach, right? Kind of remove the emotion. That's good for anybody. This isn't just, but one that really need to be aware of. And one thing I would say is that men are emotional too. Anger is an emotion. And what I saw in my career quite often was that things would come back in anger. These are often called microaggressions or aggression, sometimes direct aggression. I would have to stop meetings and go, hey, why are you so angry right now? Right? Like, what is happening? But somehow we've not seen that as being emotional. We need to just be aware of, if we're feeling anger as a manager or a leader for some reason, stepping back to saying, is that rooted in unconscious bias? Or is that there's something here that I need to address or talk through, or what? Just step back from it, right? And just be aware of the emotion, I would say, on any side, what is creating that, and like then logically move forward, right? Like, okay, let's be aware of it. It's going to happen. Just going to happen. That's okay. How do we approach in a logical way and not react to it? Okay, last couple here, and then we'll open it up for questions. Acknowledging mistakes and then moving on. Don't ruminate. Don't focus on it. Don't get so caught up in it that we can't move forward. Yep, that was a mistake. I'm going to learn for it. What can I do different? Move on. I know that's easier said than done, but just don't get stuck in the mind cycle, right, of this. And like I said, this applies to everybody, right? This is just being able to move forward after a failure. And we talked about the proof first, pay later. Mistakes are good. As long as we're learning from those failures and then moving on, that's a good thing. And then last is just staying centered and present. Really, if you're in work, stay focused on the work. It's easy to get distracted. I know things come up all the time and you got to address, but just really staying centered and focused on your career, your work, where you're going. And then as a leader or a manager, when you're in one-on-ones, when you're having conversations, seek to understand what's happening and why, and having open conversations creates a lot broader and more opportunity for resolving. So be open to different life experiences, the challenges that women might have outside of the office, and men, parents in general, right? We all are dealing with a lot of life all the time, and not ignoring that or hesitating from it, just being open to it, and then say, okay, well, here's where we need to go. Let's work through this. How do we get there, right? And enable that. Whew. Okay, so we're going to do a check-in. We got through a lot very fast. Time check. I'm over time. Are we okay to move forward here?
Trina, yeah, so we'll wrap up, but yeah, please go ahead and finish, what we're doing, and then we'll ask a couple questions, then we'll,
okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. So just on your Slido poll, we're going to just do a quick quiz for all our female employees first, and then we'll do one with leaders, and then we're wrapped up. Can you select the one skill that you'd like to work on this week? And we're going to kind of do a ranking poll. So it'll just be interesting what people felt like they wanted to work on the most.
I love the interactive nature of this, Trina.
Isn't it fun?
This is fun to watch.
I'm so glad we got it working.
Yeah, it's good.
And we can see, it looks like, we've got some across the board, which is great. I mean, everybody's coming from a different place. Something's going to resonate differently for them. And so recognizing our personal power. Yes, go watch that. Like, find your personal power, know your strengths, be able to market those, embrace our imperfections, be able to just step forward with confidence and just, we're going to go, right? So hopefully everybody's like, yeah, we're going to do this. Okay. Let's go to the next one. Let's go to, and like I said, everyone is a leader. So I want everyone responding to this. You are all leaders, everybody. What is one skill you'd like to work on this week to enable women in leadership? What can you do? What's the one thing you can do to help enable women in leadership programs? Again, I'm going to kind of scroll down. Again, we've got everybody's saying, there's so much opportunity, things that we can do. Just pick one thing. What's that one thing this week? And then what's the next thing, right? And just kind of put, okay, I did this one, tackled this one. And, what's the one you have the hardest one with? Maybe that's the one you start with. So building relationships, being an ally, career paths, opportunity, seek to understand life experiences. That's part of that relationship. We can always find a point of connection, right, between each other. All right, so this is the wrap up. What's the emoji now? How are we doing? Everybody feeling ready to rock and roll? Lots of rocket ships rising, right? So I'm gonna wrap it up there. This has been really fun. I'm glad things worked out, and you do have the slides. So, and then there's another full training at learn.rizenext.com that goes more in depth, and then here if you ever need to reach out, and I have take a couple questions here.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Trina. And I think I speak for everyone that there's so many good little nuggets in there that I'm just dying over. So I would love to ask a quick question and kind of encompass a lot of the things that you talked about. But please, if you have a question, pop it in the chat and we'll answer that. And I know we're a little bit short on time, but this is too good not to take advantage of the time with you. So I know that you talked a lot about creating change. Really, everybody's a leader, right? All of us have that ability to do that. And I think kind of encompassing the message that you sent throughout the whole presentation was really creating that network and allyship to make sure that you are being empowered. So what would you say, and what would be your biggest advice for the audience of people that want to create change? Where do you start? Do you really start with that mentorship, the allyship, or what would you say is the first step for creating change in their career?
Start with themselves. It's just amazing to me sometimes how we're just always going and just doing for everybody else and every other thing, and we don't ever stop to center ourselves and really figure it out. It starts with that slide on what's the vision for me, what's my purpose, how am I going to invest in myself, my skills, my career, and be able to manage this potentially with my life and family. How's that all going to work out? Start with yourself, because then as you start to engage others and have conversations, you're going to be a lot more clear on what it is you're doing and why, and where you need help. Look, this is what I'm going to be doing. Here's why. Here's where I want to go, but I'm having this block or this challenge, or I want to get into this position, but I need your help, right? So I start with yourself, and then it's easier to move out from there.
I love that. And I feel like you're speaking to me today. This is great. And the message is perfect. And it's really honestly exciting to see how much impact you're having in the chat. I wish we could talk all day, but thank you so much, Trina. And again, we're going to be sending out a lot of information post meeting and post event for Trina and everything that she encompasses, everything that she has to offer. And then she'll also be adding a few things. So seriously, thank you so much for being here, Trina.
You're so welcome.
We really just appreciate the time, and hopefully we'll see you back soon. And please don't be a stranger.
I
So
would
thank
love
you,
it. I would love it. Thank you all.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much, Trina. Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining our first part of the event. So we're going to go to just a quick short intermission, just right around 4 to 5 minutes, just to give everyone a little bit of a break, and then we'll come back with our next keynote speaker. So we will see you in just about 4 to 5 minutes.
If you wanna run away with me, I know a galaxy and I can take you for a ride. I had a premonition that we fell into a rhythm where the music don't stop for life. Glitter in the sky, glitter in my eyes, shining just the way I like. If you're feeling like you need a little bit of company, you met me at the perfect time. You want me, I want you, baby. My sugar boo, I'm levitating. The Milky Way, we're renegading. Yeah, 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 yeah. I got you. Moonlight, you're my starlight. I need you all night. Come on, dance with me. I'm levitating. You, moonlight.
Brenda, are you out there? Let's do a mic test real fast while we're in intermission.
Come on, dance with me.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Awesome.
How are you this morning?
Amy, I'm great. Doing great.
Good.
Excited.
A little tired. Oh, excited.
I'm excited.
Gotcha. Sorry. I've got the music like playing in one ear and then you in the other one. It's a little confusing, but I got my machine to work, and it's a miracle. I mean, Trina was having issues with the presenting. My computer was running like it was the 90s. It was bad. The dial-up connection was like spinning in the background. It was rough. But yeah, excited to have you here. So let's run intermission for another like 2 or 3 minutes while people kind of make their way back. We'd give them an opportunity to use the restroom or get a drink, and then from there, we'll have you just do a quick screen share, make sure that that's all working and good to go, and then we'll have Jody introduce you. Does that work?
Perfect.
Okay, love it.
Okay.
so electric, that's what I saw. And even if I wanted to, I can't stop. Yeah, 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 yeah. My love is like a rocket with your blast off. And I'm feeling so electric, that's my ass off. And even if I wanted to, I can't stop. Yeah, 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 yeah. You want me, I want you, baby. My sugar boo, I'm levitating. The Milky Way, we're renegading. I got you, moonlight, you're my starlight. I need you all night. Come on, dance with me. I'm levitating. You can fly away with me tonight. You can fly away with me tonight. Baby, let me take you for a ride. Yeah, 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 yeah. I'm levitating. You can fly away with me tonight. You can fly away with me tonight. Baby, let me take you for a ride. Yeah, 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 yeah. I got you, moonlight. You're my starlight. I need you all night. Come on, dance with me. I'm levitating. You, moonlight. You're my starlight. I need you all night. Come on, dance with me. I'm levitating.
I think that's probably good. I think one song probably gave us enough time. I'm gonna pass it over to. Well, I'm gonna stop sharing first. I'm gonna spotlight you, Jody, and then have you start introducing Brenda. And then Brenda, if you want to start doing a screen share, and let's make sure we can get that up and going, that would be awesome.
Sounds good. Thanks, Ian. Well, welcome back. I'm really, really excited for our second keynote speaker. And I would love to just give her a quick intro and then we'll get right in because we would love to hear from her. So Brenda Anderson is our next keynote speaker. She's the founder and CEO of Jipe, which is a revolutionary job search platform. She is one of the less than 5% of female Utah CEOs, which is incredible. As a strong, ambitious single mom of 2 teenage boys, she saw a need for an app that made searching for an entry-level job easy and familiar, especially for the Gen Z population. Over the course of a year after surviving brain surgery, Brenda worked toward her goal of building Jipe during every spare hour that she had. Today, she is proudly showcasing Jipe to both job seekers and businesses. However, her roots run deep at MarketStar. Love this. She, having been a MarketStar leader for nearly 10 years, she is definitely one of our own. Now she is on her own journey, blazing new paths as one of the few female founders in tech. It's absolutely my pleasure to welcome Brenda Anderson.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. I only have one screen, so I just want to make sure. Can you see me or my screen that I'm sharing? What are we?
We can see the screen. It's not full screen. It has like your controls around it. So if
Okay.
you're good with that,
All
then
right.
we're good with that.
Nope,
Whatever
nope.
you want.
We want to do this. We'll do
There we
this.
go. That's
Okay.
it right there.
Great. Thank you so much. So great to be here. Thank you for all the attendees for choosing to spend your time with us this morning, with MarketStar, with Trina and myself. I don't know if MarketStar knows this, but Trina and I have become friends and I admire her so much. I loved her presentation. Very, very useful and helpful, inspiring information. I hope that with this time together, I can maybe inspire you a little bit and you can walk away with something meaningful that you can apply to your own life. A little about me. I'm a single mom of teenage boys. My oldest actually just turned 20, so they're 20 and 17, and they are the light of my life and inspire me every single day. And I am a world traveler. I had the unique opportunity of being raised overseas. So my entire childhood and youth was spent in third world countries. I lived in the Dominican Republic, Honduras, Bangladesh, and Egypt. And I loved that about my life. And I feel like it offered me a perspective on the world that is unique and very near and dear to me. I feel like I have a really great gift of seeing the beauty in every place and every person. My professional background is in marketing, specifically in creative direction and art direction and brand development. I graduated from Weber State University in what a lot of people would consider the most useless degree there is, and that's art. So unlike Trina, my background is in the humanities, and I spent, like they said, like Jody already mentioned, almost 10 years at MarketStar, and I was always in a marketing capacity or a business development capacity at MarketStar, and I really loved my time and building my career there. So it's so fun to be here and be at this event. So thank you. 2 years ago, I left MarketStar and I started my own company. I am now the creator, the founder, and the CEO of Jipe. And I get to tell you a little bit more about the platform in a few minutes. But I thought we would share, I thought I would use this time to share a little bit about my journey, because I often get asked, how did you get to where you are today? How did you build a tech company? Like I said, I have a humanities background. How did that happen? So I often get asked about that, and I feel like my journey is interesting and I'd like to share it. A few things had to happen in order for me to be able to take the leap away from my corporate job and start my own business. And I often form this in paradigm shifts. So there were these really interesting things that had to happen in my mindset in order for me to be able to do the things that I've been able to do. And I've thought of a few different ones that kind of have helped along my journey. So the first one we're going to talk about is, why is this happening to me? Have you ever asked yourself this question? And I'm going to guess that most of you have. Why is this happening to me? Life throws us interesting curveballs sometimes, and we often fall into this trap of thinking this way. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about me. 4 years ago, I was at MarketStar. I had a great job. It was summer. I was loving life. I had been a single mom at that point for 6 years, and I was really proud of the life that I had built. I had bought a house a few years before. I had a great job. I was dating a little bit. I was in control and life was great. I went to bed one summer night, and the next morning I woke up and something was different. Something happened overnight. And it was weird. I couldn't hear in my left ear. And at first I thought, oh, this is weird. I need to yawn and pop my ear, or maybe I have earwax in my ear. But after a few days with no relief, I really started feeling like something was significantly me. This is too weird. So I started calling ENTs, and I saw whoever would see me the fastest. I had never seen an ENT before in my life. And so the following Monday, I was able to get into one. And he did the initial examination, looked in my ear, and he's like, everything looks perfectly fine. I really literally think he thought I was crazy. He's like, but before you go, we're going to do an audiogram. And that's when they put you in one of those soundproof rooms and do some testing. I sat in that little room all by myself. They hooked the little contraption up to my head and my ears, and you're supposed to click the button when you hear noises or sounds or words. And they started on the right side and everything was fine. I was just clicking away. And then they moved to my left ear. And I sat in that room by myself and started to silently cry because I was failing and I knew it. I couldn't hear anything. And after that, I met with the doctor again, and his demeanor had completely changed. And he's like, Miss Anderson, you have significant nerve damage, and we don't know why. It's very unusual, very rare. After about a month of some additional testing, he ordered an MRI. The day after my MRI at 8 a.m. in the morning, I got a call from the doctor. Miss Anderson, we'd like you to come in and review your results with you. It's typically not a great sign. What they found was a golf ball sized tumor lodged in my inner ear. And if this view doesn't show it very clearly, this one does. I had a massive brain tumor, and I was going to need brain surgery. I'm not sure, probably not very many of you, if any of you, have had brain surgery, but the idea alone is terrifying. This was the first moment in my life I felt completely 100% out of control. I was out of control. Like there was nothing that I could do to change what was happening to me. And when life throws these curveballs at you, whether it's a health condition or a divorce or a death in the family or a big career, a sudden career change that you weren't hoping for or expecting, sometimes, or we have an opportunity to make a choice. And I made a very conscious decision at this time that I was not going to play the victim. And instead of saying, why is this happening to me? I did a really simple tweak. I say simple, but it's kind of hard sometimes. And I changed, why is this happening to me to this is happening to me. And sometimes when life throws us the really hard things, it feels like, oh crap, this is happening to me. And that's how I felt. But by doing this and making this paradigm shift in my head, I was able to approach this challenge with as much grace as I could, with as much courage as I could. In fact, be brave became a mantra that I became. It was interesting enough that earlier that year, instead of doing New Year's resolutions, I decided I was going to have a theme for the year, not knowing anything that was coming down the pipe for me later that year. And I thought about it and I thought, be brave sounds good. I don't know why I was inspired to write be brave as my theme for 2018, but I did. And I scribbled it with a Sharpie on this note card and I pasted it or like taped it to my mirror, and it stays there today. This is the OG be brave in my life. Little did I know that later that summer, be brave was going to sustain me. That became my mantra to get through this brain tumor challenge in my life. I underwent an 8-hour operation and had a really difficult recovery. I had facial paralysis, which they didn't know if I would ever get movement in my face back again. I did regain most of the movement in my face, but I still have pockets of paralysis today. They removed my balance nerve, so I had to learn how to walk again, how to turn my head from side to side, how to stand up, turn around in a circle. All of that had to be relearned. And they couldn't save my hearing. I am 100% deaf in my left ear and will be for the rest of my life. It was a very hard time. Here's a picture of me right after surgery. And I also, as part of my recovery, had to wear this eye patch. With the facial paralysis, I lost all control of the muscles in my face on the left side, and I couldn't close my eye completely. So when I would close my eye, it was still left open. And no one tells you how painful that is, but it's extremely painful. And I had to wear this awesome patch to trap in moisture, eye drops, eye goop, like all the things. I taped my eye shut for 6 months at night or else my eye would completely dry out. It was a really hard time in my life. But I wouldn't change it. I feel like this was the hardest thing I've ever had to go through, but I wouldn't go back and change anything that happened to me because I learned really important things about myself. I learned that I am brave. I learned about my relationship with God, and I learned about how I handle challenges. And that's invaluable to me. I'm convinced had I not gone through this before, I would have never started my own company, Jipe. I would have never started this company. It would have been way too scary because starting a business is scary. You're standing at a cliff and you don't know what's there when you jump. And I feel like all the things I learned about myself through this personal health challenge really did form who I was and gave me the courage to move forward in other areas of my life. I put together a few prompts that you can consider as you face challenges in your life when you're maybe want to say, why is this happening to me? change it to, this is happening to me, acknowledge it. This is happening to me. What am I going to do with this challenge in front of me? Who do I want to be through this challenge? Who do I want to be on the other side of this? Really find what motivates you and pushes you forward. And also, I suggest finding a mantra that you can adopt and live, and like it can become part of who you are. Like my Be Brave I became that. And I believe at my core, that's who I am. The next paradigm shift that I want to talk about is a really common one. Why me? I think we ask this a lot. To me, it's a little bit different to why is this happening to me? But why me? Why should I do this? Why do I have to go? We ask this a lot, right? So think for a second, if you've been inspired to do anything in your life, any sort of inspiration on any level, and I'm sure you have. I am a creative. I am an idea machine. I have ideas all the time. And the biggest, craziest, most audacious idea I've ever had is to build my business, Jipe. And now I get to tell you a little bit about it. So Jipe is a new job search platform. It's a mobile app designed to connect teenagers and young adults to entry-level jobs using a simple and interactive app. And we're mimicking a dating app in that you swipe through jobs. So the user creates a profile, selects their filters, and then we match them to jobs and they swipe through them and can easily apply within a few moments on the app. So we're making it much faster. It's so much simpler. And this is a technology and an interface that makes sense for this younger generation. And we're responding to their needs and how they want to use tech. I've been going at it for a couple years. We've been fully launched for the last year and a half, and it feels like it was yesterday. I feel like I'm just starting every single day. I feel like it's brand new, but we're still in that very early growth stage. And so exciting. I love what I'm doing. If you want to learn more about Jipe, please reach out to me or look us up online. But building this app was a big deal. And I knew when the idea came into my head about Jipe, I knew that this was a big company. Like this had the potential to be a high growth company. So why me? Why should I go build this thing? I'm just a single mom who lives in Fruit Heights, Utah. I have a great mid-management job. I have an art degree. Why should I go build this thing? And I don't know how to do this. I don't know anything about this. And I had to push through that barrier of changing why me to why not me. And this came at a very specific moment. I actually remember it. I was standing in my room looking out my window. I can see the mountains from my bedroom window. And I was just looking at that. And I thought, why not me? Why can't I go build an app? If they figured it out, whoever they are, right? If they figured out how to do it, why couldn't I? I'm smart. I can figure out how to do this. It's a great idea. I have great ideas. People like my ideas. And so I started like talking myself in and changing the story in my head and deciding that I am the right person to go build this product. I am the mom who experienced this actual pain with my own teenagers. When my oldest turned 15 and he wanted to look for a job, and I bet if you have teenagers in your family, you feel the same pain. There is no good solution for them. There's no easy mobile solution where they can just see who around them is hiring. I felt that pain. I am the person to go build this solution. And when I felt that, I grabbed another note card and a Sharpie and I wrote it down and I put it on my mirror. And these stay on my mirror today and I see them every single day. I was all in at this point. Nothing was going to stop me. I'm going and I'm going to build Jipe. But, okay, sorry. So the prompts that you can think of, and these are just some ideas, is when you're facing that, why me? Ask yourself, is your perception or the story you're telling yourself real, or are you making it up? Because oftentimes we make up stuff all the time in our brain that aren't real. So really analyze, is this real, or are you just telling yourself that and it's made up? I truly believe that you can be what you want and you can have what you desire. Tell yourself that. If you want to build an app, build it. You can do it. You can figure it out. And you can surround yourself by the people who, and ask yourself, what is making you afraid to do something new or different? For me, it was that barrier that I don't I don't know how to build an app. I've never done this before. Like, who am I? I'm just little old me in Utah. Why should I do this? For me, that was scary. But being able to cross the why me and tell myself why not me allowed me to plow through that and feel empowered. So here I am. I'm all in on my idea, but I don't know how to do this. I mean, I was all in and I believed I could, but the truth was I didn't know how. I really didn't know how to. I don't know how to code. I don't know how to find investors. I don't know even how to build a business plan. I literally Googled how to build a business plan because I didn't know how to do any of that. Um, this one was not as hard for me, like a mental barrier for me to like break down, but I did have to do it, and I had to convince myself that I can learn how to do this. I had to convince myself that I had the tools in my tool belt. I had the knowledge. I could start utilizing my network. I could figure this out. I'm a problem solver and I can go do it. So having this paradigm shift that I can learn how to do this has honestly made all the difference in the world when it came to like creating my business, because I literally have had to learn how to do everything. I figured out after I was all in and I made my business plan, I hired an attorney and legally formed my business, but I didn't know what to do next. So I had to do a ton of research. How am I going to build it? Who is going to create it? How am I going to pay for it? I had to figure all of this out. And I was able to get creative and figure out a way to self-fund my project to get it started. So I invested a lot of my own money into Jipe in order to get it going, but I knew I would need more and to find more money in order to finish it. And I was able to. I had an early investor who came in and helped me finish the launch of the product, and crazy things have happened. The launch, the launch was fun, but it didn't really go that great. They rarely do. And after the launch, my investor had to back out for health reasons. And even though the exchange was extremely gracious and beautiful, like I still felt alone and abandoned. And at that point, it was a few months after launch, I was literally alone now, and I didn't know what to do. One day I just decided to go to this networking event. And if you're in Utah, I'm sure some of you are, but there's a lot who aren't. But Utah has a really cool startup tech space. Call it Silicon Slopes. And there's a great community here. And I started going to events and meeting people. And honestly, this just changed everything. And it was also when I realized what I was really up against. Because before I hadn't really been immersed in that community. And I didn't realize that being a female, I kind of did, but it became very apparent when I started attending events and really taking Jipe to the next level. I realized being a female founder, being a solo female founder, and a single mom in tech in Utah, I don't have really great odds. I've had to work so much harder than other people because of my situation and who I am. But I'm not the type to let that stop me. And I've had amazing things happen as I have learned how to do everything along the way. I've learned how to do things I didn't even know were things. First and foremost, I built an app. I have a real app. It works. People are finding jobs on it. You can download it today in the App Store or the Google Play Store. And that alone is a miracle and astonishing. I learned how to do that. I learned how to reconcile bank accounts. I didn't even know I was supposed to reconcile my business bank accounts, but I learned how to do it. And I learned how to create a 3-year pro forma or a financial projection. I have an art degree, people. Like, that was hard. Like, that finance component for me is really difficult, but I learned how to do it. And I can build a 3-year projection now. I've learned how to register trademark for my business, and I've earned one. I've hired a development company that built the app, and I maintain that relationship. I've learned how to cold call for my business. I have walked the mall and exchanged dollar bills for downloads. I have hustled Jipe so much because I had to. And I learned how to pitch my business to investors, and I've done it hundreds of times. That took hours and hours and hours of effort and training and classes to learn how to do that well. I won my very first pitch competition a little over a year ago. It was the first pitch competition I entered, and I won first place in my category and walked out with $1,000. A few months later, I entered another pitch competition and I won third place at the One Utah Summit, which is the governor's summit in Utah, and won $10,000. The governor and a few other awesome leaders in this space were the judges. I have been named as one of the top 100 entrepreneurs in Utah most likely to build a high growth company. This is the Win 100 list. And I have pitched to investors and heard no, no, no so many times. I have been discriminated against because I'm a woman. I've been talked down to and belittled. I've been asked, can I really do this and be a mom? And I've heard that no, 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 no so many times until I started hearing yes, yes, yes. And I secured an investment with a reputable accelerator in Provo, Utah called Rev Road this summer. And I just closed my 6-figure pre-seed round. And I'm already working on my next 7-figure seed round right now. I'm so proud of the things I've done. And it's because I have this mindset that I can learn how to do anything. And I think all of us can do that. We can all learn how to do all the things that we need to do to go get that thing we desire. And maybe it's not a tech company, but it's a promotion or a job title or a position that you really want and are seeking. You can do it. I know that you can. Here are a few prompts as you feel blocked, like you don't know how to do something and you limit yourself. And remember, you don't have to have all the answers. And Trina talked a lot about this in that whole Women Rising section and gave all those ideas. You don't have to know all the answers, but you do need to be, I feel like you need to be willing to learn. And that's okay. You just have to take that first step and the next one and then the next one. And think who in your network can help you or know someone that can help. Often when you're getting going, it's not your direct network that is the most helpful. It's the next layer down. So one thing that I had to learn how to do, and it is a skill, is asking for an intro. Learning how to ask for a good introduction. Learning how to give a good introduction. Those are skills that I've had to learn, and I have hustled it. Anyone like my friends at MarketStar who followed me, I mean, I've really utilized networking, I've utilized LinkedIn and networking on LinkedIn very effectively, to be able to rally and create allies around me. And Trina talked about this too. It's marketing yourself. I have marketed myself, I think, really well on LinkedIn and in the community. I go to events, people know who I am. I take pictures, I post them, I tag everybody so that people start talking about Brenda and talking about Jipe. So when I post about a win on Jipe, I have people like cheering me on, and it's on purpose. I'm doing that to market myself and my business. And and be able to move my business forward. And I really truly believe that I can do this. I can do anything I set my mind at doing, and so can you. And I hope that you feel that, and you can think of these paradigm shifts that you can make in your life that will break through these limiting beliefs that you have, so that you can push through and go create the dream, go do the next big thing you really want to do. And please go do it. And I wish you the best. So I think we have time for some Q&A now, but if it's okay, Ian and Jody, I am going to stop sharing my screen so I can see everyone. Is that okay?
Yeah, of course.
Absolutely. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, we'll go ahead and jump right into Q&A. First, I just want to say, Brenda, the love in the chat for you and how inspiring you are is just blowing everyone away. I mean, everyone is saying, I'm going to get my dreams right now. I'm starting today. And really that's because of your message. And I think this has just been so impactful. So thank you just right out the gate. I think a couple questions that I have, and then obviously we'd love to open it up as well to the chat. So go ahead and throw some questions in the chat, and then we'll move over to there. And I know we only have a couple more minutes, but along your journey, I think one of the major questions I think a lot of people are thinking is, during those tough times, how did you really change your mindset to grow towards your mantra? Because there's obviously those moments that you have, and I'm sure moments that you thought, maybe I'm just going to give up. This is too hard. So how do you continue that motivation and mindset in those really tough times?
Oh, that's a great question. It's going to require me to dig a little deep right now. I would say, I'm trying to think like of a specific example, whether it's like the brain tumor or with Jipe. I think with Jipe it's a little easier because I just like know inside me it's not done. And I just have to keep going. And I feel that like very keenly. When I started the company, it took me months to decide I was going to do it. And it took a lot of like mental work for me to be able to have that moment at the window and be like, yes, I'm all in. It wasn't that moment. It was months of work leading up to it, really like working through that. And I think that work served me well because when I started, I was committed. And I think that's also my personality. When I commit to something, I'm doing it. And I'm going to do the best dang job that I know how. And I just feel like there's so much left to do that I can't give up. So it is very like just ingrained in me now that like I'm going and there's still more to do.
Yeah.
I hope that was helpful.
Absolutely. And I think it just shares that message with everyone that you don't give up and you have to push yourself in those moments.
Yeah.
And believing in what you do and believing in yourself, which is incredible. So I think another thing that really struck, especially the chat, was, why not you? Why, we say why me, but why not me? Why not you? And why can we not be just as inspiring as you and follow, our dreams and our pathways? So what I would say, and my next question for you would be, is how do you truly, I know that you spoke a lot about networking and really just utilizing your platforms. How do you get into that, and how do you create a network and a tribe of allyship within a professional setting that really, those are the people that are going to support you through that journey? And I think it sounded like from your message, that's something that you heavily relied on throughout your journey. So how do you create the right kind of networking for yourself?
I think I'm very intentional about events that I go to and being seen. It's a little bit of a game. And I don't say that in a negative way, but like it's strategic. I show up so people see me and I introduce myself. And I can't build Jipe sitting in my office in my house. I can't do it. I have to get out there and I have to be seen by the leaders and get people excited. So there is like a little bit of a sales component where I'm selling Jipe all the time, like, and myself, I'm getting people excited about my vision. And when they see it, they're like, that's cool. I like Brenda. I like what you're doing, and I'm going to rally behind her. The LinkedIn strategy is very like, I mean, it's algorithms, it's tagging, and it's sharing pictures, and it's posting often. So I post most days, at least 5 times a week. I always tag as many people as I can. um, because that's how LinkedIn works, and that's how your network grows on LinkedIn. So I think there's a whole conversation around LinkedIn strategy, but it's that in a combination with actually going to events, being seen by people in the community, and just continuing to spread the word and get people excited about my vision.
I love that. Thank you so much. And I think we're just about at time, but I know that Ian had a question, so we'll kind of make this the last question and then we'll wrap
No,
it
it's
up.
fine. It's fine. There's
Yeah.
one question in the Q&A, and it's from
Oh,
Tammy.
perfect.
And she says, if you have any ideas on what you would want to do, if you have ideas on what you want to do, but there's a few different routes to get there, how do you make the best decision and choose that best route?
Yeah.
Just advice.
Yeah. I would say explore all your options. You definitely need to look at all the options, do a ton of research, talk to as many people who have done it and get their advice too, so that your decision is as informed as it could be. At the end of the day, like for me, that all informs my decision, but I also have to combine that with a gut feeling too. Sometimes, not in every case, but sometimes you just have to. I was like, oh, that just doesn't feel right, and I can't move forward if I don't feel good about it. So I always look for that gut check as well. But talk to people who've done it, learn from them, research yourself, and you'll be able, I think the path will clear itself out, and you'll be able to see the right way to go.
Love it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Jody, to you.
Okay, well, thank you, Brenda. And I know I speak for everyone that this has just been one of the most inspiring, talks that we've heard, and same with Trina. I mean, the whole event today has just been incredible. So I'll wrap up and say thank you, Brenda, so much for being here. And we'll definitely put all of her information at the end, and we'll make sure that you get all the information that you need for her to get in contact, to connect, and all of those things. So thank you again, Brenda. Really
Thank
appreciate
you.
you being here.
Thanks.
All right. Well, I think that just kind of wraps it up for us. Again, just wanted to say thank you so much for being here. We were so excited for this event, and it absolutely blew our expectations out of the water. Our keynote speakers were incredible, and really took the time out of their day to make sure that they were here for you. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we will have communication and information to follow on both of our speakers so that you can engage and connect. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.
Till you tell me on the heavenly phone. So hold tight, come on, come on. Oh, come on, don't let go. Hold tight, it's alright, you said. I got my hands up, shaking just to let you know that you've got a higher power. Got me singing every second, dancing every hour. Oh yeah, you've got a higher power, and she really someone I wanna know. This boy is electric. This boy is electric, and you're sparkling like the universe connected. And I'm buzzing night after night after night. This joy is electric. This joy is electric, and you're circuiting through. I'm so happy that I'm alive. Happy I'm alive at the same time as you. Cause you've got a higher power. Got me singing every second, dancing every hour. Oh yeah, you've got a higher power, and you're really someone I wanna know. You got, yeah, you got a high. You got, yeah, you got a higher. You got, yeah, you got a high. You got, oh, you got, oh, you got a high. up shaking just to let you know now. You got a higher power. You got me singing every second.